a better introduction?
I am not going to talk about alpacas, unless you want me to talk about alpacas, because I'm right. Excellent. Okay, well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for the invitation to come and speak at Civic Tech Toronto. It was a roundabout way that it was actually some girl guides, Louise, who connected me with Civic Tech Toronto, and that was through Paula. So thank you, Paula and Louise, wherever you are, and Civic Tech for having me tonight. So I'm going to talk about a project that I'm a project lead on with the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centres, and is funded by the Ontario government. It's into its 4th year, and just, well, I'll go a little bit through it. I want to talk first about the Ontario Coalition of Crisis Centres. So it's a network of 29 English language sexual assault centres across the province. They come together. The coalition is really for advocacy work. English is my first language, unfortunately. Advocacy work. They do counseling, information, and support services for survivors of sexual violence, including childhood sexual abuse and incest. And I am the lead pot stirrer for Commonwealth Communications. So my background, I actually worked in the as an executive director of the Sexual Assault Center in Kingston for 8 years, and I was the president of the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centres for 5 years. But I've been in not-for-profit forever, and got introduced to technology in really good ways back in the 80s in global education work. And although I didn't move into technology at that point, I always found ways to use technology doing the work I was doing, so I always loved it. So every time I would come to a new space, I would try to convince the organizations that I was working with that we should be looking at using technology. And then when I became the executive director, well, it became easier for me to convince our center to become engaged in using technology, especially with younger support seekers, because they're not using crisis phones and they're not coming face to face. So we were looking at texting and those sorts of things in a very informal way. I rode off into the sunset on my donkey, away from doing the work in sexual assault centers, and wanted to get really engaged in using technology for good. And I approached the OCRCC and asked them if they wanted to partner to help build their capacity around using technology in frontline settings. And they said yes. The government announced money, we applied, we got it, and that was almost 4 years ago. So this is the work I do. I work with the OCRCC. I'm also working with shelters. So in the VAW sector, it's separated. Domestic violence, the shelters are part of the sector, as well as the sexual assault centers. So I'm doing some work with shelters as well as community health centers around using technology in frontline settings. So for this project that I have been working on, we were trying to facilitate a unique opportunity to test new and innovative strategies connected to technology to increase support to survivors of sexual violence and harassment, particularly those facing unique and unmet access needs. That's where we started. That's a little goal. So what we did was I'm going to tell a story. You guys can read it on the screen. But what I did was I went around, traveled around the province, met with 26 of the 29 centers, sat down with their staff and said, okay, tell me about technology. How do you use it in your personal lives? Okay, what are your fears around using technology in the workplace? What are your dreams? What do you think that how it could be used to actually support survivors? And I had conversations. I love technology, but for me it starts with the conversation. That's how we learn to build the technology that we need. So that's where we started. I also got buy-in from those frontline staff members later on, because they knew that they had a conversation with me that I started to gain their trust around the project. So we did a consultation with them, we did surveys, we did an audit in their centers, because as you guys know, technology, you can say, well, we're going to set up something, but if they had, most centers are populated by staff who are not tech savvy. That's not restricted, that's not why they're doing what they do. They may not be able to tell you where the motor is, or or what kind of computers are doing. So we literally went into the centers, we took pictures, we looked at what we had, we told them what they had, what kind of security issues they had within their systems, and then we built a physical map for them so they could understand how they were connected to it, and then we made recommendations on that. Because we knew they needed to get that in place when we started looking at video counseling and support. Because if we didn't have the equipment, they didn't have the bandwidth, they didn't have the accessibility to the internet, they weren't going to be able to provide it. So we needed to do that work first. We also talked about what they felt that survivors that they were supporting, what they would be interested in using. And some of them were already informally using technology in their centers. So a staff member would say, oh yeah, well I text someone, but we don't believe in policies around that. So we gathered as much of that information as we could as well. Then we did a pilot. So not very often in the not-for-profit, I don't know how many of you have worked in the not-for-profit world, and in the VAW sector, it's a pretty poor cousin of the not-for-profit world as well. You don't get opportunities to pilot anything, let alone technology. So we got an opportunity to pilot for 9 months, different tools that we had researched and decided that we would try to use. So we used Zoom for video counseling and support. So we piloted that. We piloted it with iCarol, which is a online chat, crisis texting platform that actually started in Canada and got huge and is down in the States now, but the servers are actually still in Canada, which is really important for us as well around security where the information is stored. They are a really high secure crisis online chat platform, and they're very expensive. So we had an opportunity to do it because we had the money to pilot it. We learned a lot from that moment. They also have a crisis texting service that's attached to that as well, which we were looking at. We were also trying text-free as a supplementary tech support service. So again, the sexual assault centers have no money, and so they don't have money to give, or they don't have money to spend on work phones, for example. So they may work it out with their staff member that they're using their personal phone to text the clients, and then they'll pay them for their data. So there was those worries about how they were using their own personal devices, and even, I mean, text-free was not perfect, but it was a way for them to separate their own phone line from the work that they were doing. We also offered opportunities for the centers to come together and learn through forums about what was going on. We created toolkits. We had Pamela Cross, I don't know if you guys know her, awesome lawyer who does amazing work in the VAW sector. She worked with us to facilitate conversations about policies, and then specifically around record keeping. And then what she did, she went away, she created policies, and we created a toolkit for the centers. And then we provided training, so we provided training on how to use the actual tool, but we also have a really, an amazing trainer who has done a lot of work around crisis support work and counseling using digital platforms. So she was doing work around the dynamics and how it's different from face-to-face and phone calls. And then of course we have an evaluation happening as well. So that's how it all has been coming along. A couple of things I just want to mention through this. So we do an environmental scan as well. We do a literature review on other organizations who are using technology in support situations. We had also Paula, who introduced herself shortly, or recently, in the past. She was doing e-learning trainings with us as well. And she also worked on our outreach campaign materials for the Crisis Online Chat stuff. So she's been working with us. So then after we piloted and we got all the trainings and we did all the toolkits and we were all going and we were rocking and rolling and we were doing along, we were like, oh my goodness, iCarol is not working out for us. This is too expensive. Centers are too afraid to get committed into this. We were creating hubs. They were all autonomous. We were having a hard time trying to figure out how to work together. So we stopped and we went, okay, what are we going to do? Because we're not going to be able to afford this. So we started looking at other things that were out there. And we were looking at Talk2. We were looking at those different services that are for business. And I'd have conversations with them and I'd say, okay, is there a way that we can hide the IP address when we're in conversations with a support seeker or with someone on the other side? And they're like, no, you don't want to hide your IP address. You want to be able to follow them, right? Because this is your sale. And I'm like, no. We have to hide the IP address. We have to reassure those people that they're not IP addresses enough. And they're like, no, we have to go way back in that system and change way too much. So we won't be able to do that. So those very inexpensive, very accessible, easy to use chat platforms didn't work for us as well because it didn't have those security pieces in place. So we were like, oh crap, what are we going to do? We were kind of in a moment. Well, the government came out to us and said, put in another proposal. We'll help you build an online chat platform. I was like, wait, am I dreaming? Okay. This was pre-June 2018. So anyway, was it? No, it wasn't. No, actually, no. Yeah, that's why the dream is strange. So right now we are just starting to look at building an online chat platform. So one of the things I wanted to come here today to talk to you guys and to just put out there that we are starting to seek and look for. We have a lot of user experience information from the last 3 years from support seekers who use the tools, as well as from the frontline facilitators who were trying to use the tools. We want to move now into looking at user interface design and how do we do that? So we've got the enthusiasm, but we don't have a lot of the knowledge around where we need to go next. So those are the next steps that we're going to be doing: an online chat platform build. We'll be doing training on it and then implementing it. The challenges we had were that we looked at pre-built tech tools, and we didn't try to find a pre-built that offered robust privacy security measures. Very expensive and really cumbersome systems. Non-technical, the resistance by certain staff members, as well as a high turnover rate in sexual assault centers, because you don't get paid a lot to work in a sexual assault center. So you get to a point where you have the experience of working in a sexual assault center, and then you find another job, usually in mental health and addictions, and you get paid a lot more money, so staff don't stick around. So it's really hard to keep the attention of the information around the actual tool. And then, and this is where I was sort of a bridge, but there's a lot of disconnect between technology support people, whether it's their own folks that they use in their own communities, or those that I was working with, like ICARA, so I would be the person who would try to translate to the non-tech person a question that the tech person would have. So there's really, it was so hard, it was a disconnect, and we still are trying to figure out how to connect that moment between tech groups and non-tech groups, as you guys know. So now we're trying to to improve the services by creating an online platform. So we're going to build that, and then we're going to create the training. And we know it has to be affordable, user-friendly, secure, functional, accessible, reflects feedback from prototyping participants. And so now we're looking for partners for the development. We are going to go back to the centers and ask them for some user design to help us around the elements that we'll need to decide. And then we're going to create a prototype, get feedback on the prototype, and then we go into the build. So my role will be supporting both ends of that adventure. And then we'll be looking at orientation to the platform, as well as training and development of resource guides. So we have to have this all done by February 2020. Oh, there's my own glasses. I wasn't joking. The end. Any questions, or did I take up all our time chatting?
We've gone with some current and chat platforms like Signal or
This is the thing, when we did our research. When we did our research, we don't know, we actually cast our net out there. We didn't actually Signal, so we don't have that knowledge, even though the Signal and which Telegram. We also looked at PuffNut as a potential, because it was going to be very affordable for us to do it. He started explaining to me how it works, and I'm like, oh sorry. Mario's running down and kept collecting coins. I don't know. So as you can see, that the technology expertise around how to do it, I don't have it. So I've not heard of Signal or Telegram. I guess because I use DuckDuckGo, that's the problem. Does somebody else have a question or?
So I heard you talking about all the challenges of bridging the gap between tech and non-tech people. This is a lot to ask, but at the end of that, would you be able to summarize some of the key things you learned to pass on about how you bridge that gap?
So diagrams really work for non-tech people. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. So that was visual, and that's why we ended up doing a map, physical map, or a map for people to understand their technology, because it's a TARDIS to them. They don't get it. But it's interesting because it's like a, you know how when you're doing a technology, you ask a question, you've already gone through several steps to get to that question. That person is, so in our circumstance, you're talking to a frontline worker whose computer has blown up. She's also got 7 crisis calls that are coming in. So I don't know. I think Paula, who has done a lot of technology within that sector, which is very non-tech savvy, may have some thoughts around that. But it was always they don't have any clue, and they don't actually really want to know how the internet works. Really, I mean, I'm sounding like facetious, but they really.
They're only interested in how to make that person something. How do you do something?
Yes.
They're not interested in the tools. So if you can convince them, or if you can show them a really easy way to use the tool, that's great.
It's two
It's
different
getting
languages.
easier though.
It is, and younger people, yeah, so younger people coming in sexual assault centers are much more tech savvy, but there's a lot of older interns of 40 and up still working in those places. But it is totally 2 different languages and understanding around it. Technology works. That really wasn't very helpful. Sorry. If you could make an analogy around crisis counseling.
I was thinking maybe you had to provide support.
So you know what? That is actually, they go into absolute panic and they feel really stupid and shame because they feel they should not use it because it's so important in their organizations that when it goes down. And they have, you guys are busy, I mean, tech people are busy. They have 7 clients calling them saying, you have to want to do this, so it's really hard to help hold that space. I imagine, for as long as they probably need it. A box of Kleenex is probably good to have. Anyone else?
Have you published your user research in your public?
We haven't published it? No. We have, no. I don't know if that would be something that we would do. We could. We're a humble bunch that work in that sector. And so we don't think anybody really cares about what we're doing. And so, I know that sounds really whatever, but it's true. We have well, I might not know.
There's a lot of demand.
No. No, there isn't, and there's not another crisis support line for sexual assault centers or for sexual assault that we're aware of. We know Kids Helpline, LGBT Youth Line, but in terms of the specifics, so there are some dynamics that really that around actually to interact with somebody because they're in crisis, as you can probably imagine. And so when we did our trainings, Amy was doing work around acronyms and emojis and how they're used when somebody's trying to express, they've just been sexually assaulted. Like it's just mind-boggling for some of these counselors and crisis support people because they're trying to get familiar and comfortable with technology in the first place, and then trying to use these things. Then we all start using it in our personal lives and get all attached with it. They have to take a leap to a place of, okay, now I gotta think about this in a professional sense.
I guess I'm just wondering, I feel like it's interesting that like, phones far away, you can't see one another, and there's like distance that's comforting, maybe and good, but then like chat maybe is the same thing, and emojis are like more time to think, and like, is there a way, is there an effort to like move people towards like bring them in or to bring them like more into spaces where they can see one another?
Absolutely. So this crisis support and these pieces of technology are not the end. They're not.
What they're used for is to actually crisis support. So not counseling. So the centers don't get into that realm of trying to do full-on counseling. They don't do it with email because it's so hard to, interpret what people are saying. So when people, and in the pilot, what we discovered was people who were accessing the crisis support line or crisis online chat had never accessed services before. So that was like, oh my goodness. And so what the online facilitators would do would get them through the crisis moment and then offer them, if you'd like to see somebody at the sexual assault center, if you'd like to see, and so people will be calling it, they might be in suicide ideation, a situation where they're actually suicidal. So online facilitators would help them as best they could in those moments. But it's always the end goal is to get them to the next steps of support, if that's what they would like. Never that's the end zone. Video counseling support, very different thing, but this is only chat. And we separated crisis texting and supplementary tech support because there are two different roles that texting can have. We give you ongoing support for people who may be getting support from you and they want to court or they're between sessions and they need some support. The crisis texting is and that was used a lot with younger people. There was definitely, if they shared their age, they were usually like 15 to 20 and then 20 to 35 with the online chat. Thank you so much. And if you guys want to, I'm like in a moment of like, I'm in the desert of technology. And so if you guys, I'd love to chat more with any of you at any time about this. We got some cash to make this happen. We just need to make the next steps to figure out how we do it.
I don't see Alex anywhere, but